Hello, I'm Jacob and you're watching the Prepper's Bunker Outdoors. In an upcoming Patreon sponsored video, I will be looking for what could be the best beginner budget mountain bike. Two of the bikes that I have come to are the Marin Bobcat and the SE OM Duro XL. But I've only recently found out that the OM Duro has a very similar bike on the market that's little known that is more affordable. So we're going to compare it to the OM Duro today, at least in the specs sheet. It is the Thruster Retrograde. The OM Duro retails for about $1,300, whereas the Thruster Retrograde retails for about $1,000. The concept of both of these bikes is that they are 27.5-inch plus mountain bike BMX bikes. These two bikes are very similar in their specs, but they also have some differences. So what I want to look at today is whether or not the OM Duro is worth the extra $300 cost over the Thruster Retrograde. Real quick, let's first look at the similarities between these two bikes. Both bikes have 175mm cranks, which look to have the same crank arms, and they both have a sealed European bottom bracket. Both bikes have chromoly rigid front forks. However, the SE OM Duro advertises full chromoly forks, whereas the Thruster Retrograde does not, which could mean that the Retrograde could only have a chromoly steer tube with high 10 legs. I've reached out to Thruster and have not heard back from them yet. Both bikes feature cheap disc brakes, but the Retrograde has Tektro mechanical disc brakes, whereas the OM Duro has Tektro hydraulic brakes. There might not be a huge difference in stopping power, and both brake sets are very cheap, but braking performance is likely going to go to the OM Duro. Handlebars on both bikes are very similar. However, the Retrograde, again being cheaper, has high tensile steel bars that are 29 inches wide, whereas the OM Duro has full chromoly bars that are 31 inches wide. Thruster does offer a 31-inch wide full chromoly bar at an upcharge, and it looks like it could be the same bar as SE is using on the OM Duro. The Retrograde has a 6061 aluminum frame, whereas the OM Duro has a chromoly frame. Normally, that would mean that the OM Duro would be heavier, but in this case, due to the build, the Retrograde is actually about 2 pounds heavier. The Retrograde comes in either a black and red or a silver and red, whereas the OM Duro comes in black and blue only. Now, the original OM Duro's metallic blue flake with yellow and chrome was probably one of the best looking bikes ever made, with tan sidewalls. In my opinion, the current black and blue looks kind of cheap, and the Retrograde's black and red looks better, and they give you the option also of silver and red, so I've got to give a bit of the edge to the Thruster in that department. Another difference between these two frames is the Retrograde has internal cable routing for the brakes and for the shifter, whereas the OM Duro does not. But the OM Duro is set up for internal cable routing for a dropper post, which is a huge plus on a trail bike. So props to SE for that attention to detail. The Thruster comes with 27.5 by 3-inch tires. A weird thing to note is the OM Duro advertises that it comes with 27.5 by 3-inch tires, but in the specs it says it actually comes with 27.5 by 2.8-inch tires. Somebody's not really paying attention there. The OM Duro has a sealed rear hub, but an unsealed front hub. The Retrograde, we really don't know what it has. Again, I've reached out to them. It's likely that it's also sealed and unsealed. No bike at either of these price ranges should come with an unsealed hub. That's kind of a knock on both of them. In my opinion, the biggest difference between these two bikes is the Thruster Retrograde comes with a Shimano Altus gear set. It's a 9-speed set whereas the OM Duro comes with a SRAM GX 10-speed. Now, there's a little bit more range in the SRAM GX, but I don't think that's what's really important. What's really important is simply the fact that the SRAM GX Eagle drivetrain is a higher quality drivetrain in general. It should have less dropped chains, less weight, more range, and better shifting, and that's a big deal when you're looking at a mountain bike. You can't always judge the value of a bike by what they advertise on the spec sheet. When you look closely between these two bikes, the OM Duro shows a hollow rear axle. That would most likely be a hardened chromoly rear axle, whereas on the Thruster Retrograde, it's a solid axle, which probably means it is a high tensile steel or a lower grade, heavier, softer axle. So although we can look down the list and see where Thruster saved money to bring the price down on the Retrograde, there could be very important details that aren't on the spec sheets that you can't see. With that being said, the OM Duro is $1,300. It has better brakes and a better drivetrain, and those are important things for a mountain bike. Whereas the Retrograde at $1,000 looks like they tried to cut some costs just about everywhere. The Retrograde comes in at 40 pounds. The OM Duro comes in at 38.1 pound for the XL version. A chromoly frame will likely be tougher than aluminum frame in the long run. However, I don't see a lot of beginners quickly breaking frames. It just doesn't happen. So is the OM Duro worth the extra money? It could depend on how you ride, because if you're just riding around on gravel trails, it's probably not worth the extra money. If you're really riding aggressive or you're really heavy, maybe it's worth it. We would have to test them side by side to see. The OM Duro is $300 more expensive. $300 can go quite a long way on a bike like this. However, I have also seen the Thruster Retrograde on sale for $807 shipped online. I don't know if this website is legit or not, but if that is the case, I would say the Retrograde would absolutely be worth it, because as you break and wear out parts, you can replace them anyways. SE is not known for speccing their bikes with good quality parts. They're already known for skimping out and using cheap parts all over the bike wherever they can. So you have to consider that either bike could have small parts wear out anyways. If you can get the Thruster Retrograde for $500 cheaper, you might wear parts out quicker, but you're going to have $500 extra in your pocket to upgrade as needed, parts that probably need to be upgraded on either bike. So, what do you think about the OM Duro versus the Retrograde? Where would you spend your money? Did you even know that a BMX mountain bike was a thing? Let me know in the comments section below. Please check out the description box below. I have not yet decided what bike I'm going to purchase with my funds from Patreon, but we will be purchasing a bike, reviewing it, and then giving it away. Please check out that description box to see how you could support this channel, potentially get on board with Patreon, and hopefully this introduction to mountain biking will be profitable for everybody. And if we do get the Thruster Retrograde, hopefully the entire industry can learn from it, because as far as I can tell, there are no reviews on the bike. You can hardly find anything on any Thruster bikes, especially not trail reviews, and you can barely find anything on the OM Duro, especially when it comes to trail riding, which is a much more rare bike. So either of these bikes could be a whole lot of fun and could be really helpful to a lot of people to review on the trail. We'll see how that goes. I'll talk to you later.